Hi, we're a week out from the first test of the Lions. They've just beaten the Brumbies a couple of days ago, and we've been set the task by Thatchers to pick our Test 23. We're joined by the world-famous Squidge Rugby.
The relative world, the smaller version of the world, yeah.
No, the world.
The world, okay.
The world.
Okay.
And the world's not enough either. I'm Ben.
Well, you don't get you without me and me without you.
Correct.
So
we're a partnership now.
We are.
We're a bit further apart than normal.
Yeah.
Squidge in the middle.
I feel like
How's
I'm in the way.
it feel?
Yeah,
How's it feel to be in the
like
middle of
the
it?
sandwich in the bread. Yeah.
Yeah. So, should we start with which way do you want to start?
Backs.
Yeah? What?
Yeah.
15 or 9? Where are we going to start?
Well, I'll start picking 15, but before we get to that, how are your legs, mate? Your legs? There's going to be a lot of comments about the shorts, the legs, and the. You've got no socks on as well in trainers.
I've got pop socks.
Oh, there we are. Nice. Yeah.
What do you want to know? Do you want more of the leg, less of the leg? What do you want?
This is your highest viewed video ever.
It is. It will be. I'm trying to branch out into other things as well. So might do after this. You never know.
Right.
Anyway, let's pick a team.
Yeah. So please comment below. Do you rate the shorts? Do you want them more often or not? Legs on show. But for me, 15, it seems obvious. Now, he obviously went off. They're saying about his knee. No one's quite sure yet. But on the basis of we're assuming he will be fit in time, Blair Kinghorn for me starts at fullback.
Yeah. I think I'm in a very similar camp. Obviously, the injury is a concern. Elliot Daly really put his hat in the ring. Had it not been for that injury, I'm hoping there's not another injury to rule Blair Kinghorn out, but he's been brilliant for Toulouse. Was very good in the minutes he's had in tour so far, so I'd put Blair Kinghorn as well.
I would have to agree. Kinghorn is.
Right, so we all agree on the fullback.
Yes.
Winger for me, Tommy Freeman in it. We love Tommy Freeman. So
Yeah.
I'm going Freeman on one wing.
I think familiarity with the Irish system, with the way he plays. Andy Farrell likes having a winger come in and play as a second kind of fly half role. Mac Hansen, I'd put in a 14 jersey.
Interesting.
Really? I am going with Fremo again. Athlete, will be good in the air, compete well, and he can score loads of tries. So Freeman.
Okay. Other winger, I'm going with James Lowe. Now, I think that when you talked about that, Squidge, I totally agree. Like the Irish system and the way they like to play an extra distributor, pop up and be that playmaker or an extra pair of hands. James Lowe does that. I think he can also do the carry power, but he's also integral in terms of the kicking strategy. Ireland use him a lot for that left foot, getting out of their 22, getting out of their half. And I think that I would say that he's got sort of a week or so, just over a week, to find his best. But I think you can't not have him in the team, especially that left foot option, especially the way he floats around and can carry but can distribute. So for me, James Lowe, Freeman and Blair Kinghorn, that's my back three.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement about Lowe. I think the kicking's too important. He's too important a cog within that system. I thought it was great against the Western Force. The 2 attempted finishes against the Brumbies.
That's what's thrown me.
Yeah.
It's the dive.
Suddenly, he's done everything he can to get out of the team there, but he finished 1 out of 2, so that's not bad. But yeah, to keep James Lowe in the team.
I agree. I think he fits with who potentially you pick in the centres with his kicking game. It gives you another outlet. So, lock him in.
Right, midfield. And I'm going to do the match as a pairing rather than one individual. So I'm going to go. And this one's been a debate. And obviously we're doing this before the Saturday game. This video is out before the Saturday game. And I do feel like it's an opportunity for the Scottish combination to play together. But as it stands, having watched them against the Brumbies, for me, it has to be Bundy Aki, it has to be Gary Ringrose as your 12 and 13. Maybe in the future tests, do you just swap them around to Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones? Can you do that to throw something different in them potentially? But I think as of the first test, those guys, the cohesion they have together, the understanding of attacking systems and also defensive systems, which is Simon Easterby, of course, as well, Irish defence coach, Gary Ringrose and Bundy Aki in my 12 and 13.
I'd go completely opposite direction. I think you are very much looking at one of those two combos slotting in, and I would lean towards Sione Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones, play together at club level week in, week out, have been so good for so long. The Hugh Pilotu, as they're known. We saw a few moments when Hugh Jones first came off the bench against the Force, and then ever since there, of the two of them just running great lines off each other, of knowing each other inside out, of the timing that they have together, I think is so critical. So I'd go Hugh Jones at 13 and Sione Tuipulotu at 12.
What I love about Hugh Jones is he, when like Gary Ringrose does like everything right, defensively, attack-wise, but Hugh Jones does have that the X factor sort of bits. You've seen the line breaks he makes, a little bit of overs as he hits the short ball and bounces out. Like, he is a bit of a game breaker. You see him do it at international level all the time. Of course, you see him do it at Glasgow, but he is that sort of X factor player. No, I think honestly,
how many times have we seen him? Things not really been working for Scotland or for Glasgow,
comes up with something.
And then suddenly he hits an angle, and that's it, and they score and they take the lead. Like, he's the sort of player who will produce those moments.
It's as good as Lions partnerships in terms of the luxury at centre is like unique. It's almost like you've got the 4 centres, but actually beyond that, it's kind of like not. Is there anything near that level? Like, in my opinion, there isn't really. There's quite a big drop off. But as those like 2 combinations, like extremely strong. So no, I could see that. I could see that happening.
I get the vote, do I?
I guess so.
I would say I'd love to mix them up, but I think you do have to consider them as 2 combinations. And I think based on Ringrose's game he's just played against the Brumbies, I think Aki and Ringrose are going to be the starting centres.
I do not think though rule out if the 2 Scottish guys go well on Saturday, like they still have like they're
well they can
force
again,
but the bar's been set.
And also they can play with potentially the 10. They know well, so depending who we pick. But yes, those Scottish guys can slot in easily.
There's also 3 tests, so we might see that they go with Archie and Ringrose in the first test, and then change that entirely for the second or third.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, 9 and 10 combo. I feel it's going to be pretty easy. Jemison Gibson Park at 9, Finn Russell at 10.
Yeah, want to have the exciting debate, but can't really argue too much. Yeah, Gibson Park been outstanding last year. One of the best passers of the ball in the world. Just phenomenal at getting the ball. Like, I'm sure you're familiar with the role of a scrum half.
Yeah, but like
getting the ball
the speed, the ruck speed, the in between speed, the ball of actually once the collisions happen from that. Like if you time from the collision happening to ball getting into 10's hand is huge. If you can give Finn Russell half a second more, I mean. The guy, stuff happens. So like the earlier you get him. The one thing I would say though, guys, is I think Alex Mitchell's been good, but Thomas Williams for me was really unlucky to get injured. Like because I felt like Thomas Williams had an opportunity to really push Gibson Park. And I'm not saying that Mitchell isn't, but for me, like Gibson Park now is like he's the starting 9, and like I don't see, I think Mitchell complimenting coming off the bench very well. But Thomas Williams for me was someone that was in such great form for Gloucester, had a brilliant season, great player for Wales in a team that struggled. And I felt like on tour, the way he played against Argentina, the way he played against the Force, like really impressive. And a bit like Elliot Daly. There was someone that was in form, and it's a shame. So, but them at 9-10.
Would have given you something different coming off the bench as well.
Exactly.
I think the other thing with playing Gibson Park and Russell together is how quickly you can get the ball from like one touchline to the other, how quickly you can change the picture entirely, that you can present pictures and images for Australia that they can't see coming in time. Like the speed of pass and ability of both of them, like just really great at being able to open up options within an attack that is so set around that idea of presenting shapes and forcing defence to make decisions.
And actually their synergy is... You'd think they've been playing together for many years, which shows the calibre of their playing qualities. Like they've just literally, they're integrated, the cohesion's right there, they seem on the same page. So I just think a lot of times away from the training pitch, looking at footage and getting to know each other, but those guys are doing great.
Yeah. I think what I see is, like I say, Gibson Parker's ability to control the breakdown and like the forward carries sort of between 0 and 5 metres around that breakdown, and when that allows Russell at his best to sort of just take time, search for space, and when he wants it, the ball can be delivered to him. But Gibson Park definitely just bosses all that breakdown and can run it for multiple phases, and when Russell wants it, the ball's on a plate for him to go. So I think that's what works so well with both of them.
Right, forwards. Coley, do you want to kick us off?
Forwards, yes. We'll start with Lucid. I think it comes down to Ellis Genge and Andrew Porter. I think Schumann's been good on tour, but I think it comes down to those 2. I think you look at it, I think Genji's been defending really well, carrying. I think the way that Porter can come off the bench and add impact, Porter's a good start, but I think Porter offers you more impact stay off the bench than Genge would, so Genge to start for me.
I think I'd go exactly the same. Ellis Genge, I think, against Argentina was unbelievable. Was as good as he's ever been. That was one of the best I've ever seen him play. And then he already had that place roughly down. Then Andrew Porter against the Brumbies came on and made a real impact and added something on top of what Genge had brought in the first 50-odd minutes. So that as a combination of Porter coming on and adding something afterwards as an impact player, I think really works. So yeah, I'd go Ellis Genge at loose head with Andrew Porter coming off the bench.
Can't argue, totally agree. Genge to start, Porter to come on.
I think hooker-wise, I think there's probably one man that's been outstanding on tour and fits that system really well, and that's Dan Sheehan. I think the way he is able to... You've seen his footballing ability against the Brumbies, fixing defenders and putting boys in space. And I think some of his athleticism on the edge, which is that system requires the hooker to sort of play in wider spaces. I think he is nailed on to start tests.
Yeah, I think the only way Dan Sheehan isn't a starting hooker is if they put him in at 13 or on the wing. Like, he's so good in those wide channels. He's so good at playing with the ball. He's so skillful. Great line-out forward as well. I think he's absolutely nailed on.
Totally agree. Dan Sheehan, especially when you look at the 1-3-3-1 system that they play, him in the wider channels, like there's no one that can compete with that. Like, he is almost like an extra back as such. You look at his distribution against the Brumbies, how he executes that pass. His break he did with the THB handoff, big shout out. But no, genuinely, like, Dan Sheehan is one of the best hookers in the world. And yeah, obvious starter.
I think tight wise, I think you've got three great options. I think during the Six Nations, Will Stewart was the form tight head. I think he took his game to another level. I think Finlay Bealham has been a late call-up, but if he terms what he's done for Ireland in the autumn of the Six Nations, and again on tour, he's done everything that's been asked of him, scrimmaged really well, carried and done a great job. But I think probably based on his Lions pedigree, his history, and what he did in the game we've just seen against the Brumbies, I think Tyke Furlong is going to start the test. So I'd pick to start the test. I think he's got the history, the experience. He won't be fazed by anything. And I think he's sort of... We haven't seen him for a while because of injuries and that kind of stuff, but I think form-wise he's really hitting it now. And I think you saw him carry his game. He was denting the gain line. And the scrum went really well. The set piece went really well. So I think Furlong starts. Yeah,
I think there was a bit more debate before the Brumbies game. All three of these went into the tour, and Xander Fagerson as well, as possibility to start the test. And yet I think, Tyke Furlong has taken that, and I think he is starting now.
Yeah, any questions before the Brumbies game have now been answered. Like, he's your man to start at tight head, without doubt.
Second row. Right, I think there's one position nailed on, Captain Maritoji.
Yeah. And also, may I say, what form he's been in. Like, he was outstanding against the Reds, like proper captain's performance, brilliant. Like the Maro that you expect, of course, he does other bits, but like just, the energy he's bringing, you saw today, like trying to pump up the guys, but disrupting at line-outs, stealing the ball, like just busy, being a nuisance at times. I just think that he's been terrific.
Oh, he's so good at being annoying. Getting in amongst there, wrecking rucks, being able to disrupt the ball and the line out as well. We saw him stealing a couple against the Brumbies. Like, he is as good as any second row in the world. He's as good as any second row that's ever played the game. And he has been pretty much at the best of his ability on this tour. So he would be nailed in even if he wasn't captain.
Well, I think sometimes, people see like the spoil part of the game and they think, but those spoil bits lead to something. So, he might snag the 9, for instance, and he knocks it on, or he comes up with a big play where he almost makes a tackle, and you've seen him do it. He makes a tackle and almost rips the ball at the same time, and then starts herring up the middle of the field. And all these little things, they are massive momentum swingers. So Maro, for me, has been terrific. He's almost been given... It's the captaincy and the empowerment is almost got him to the next level. So, no, he's been terrific.
So Maro's locked in on one berth. The second row berth. There's a wealth of players. I think any one of these players would not let you down the line shirt. We've had Ollie Chesham's played there, we've had Joe McCarthy there, we've had Scott Cummings, we've had James Ryan, we've had Ty Byrne. So there's 5 guys there that are all quality internationals, I think would do a job. Me, I would pick Joe McCarthy based on his overall work rate, and he's been impressive in his carry game when Lions need to get gain line, he's done that. I think just his work rate, his tackling, and just his general breakdown work. I think he's just a very good player that does everything really well, and I think you need that solid presence in the row.
Yeah, I think Joe McCarthy's been maybe the form second row, certainly one of the form players on this tour. But I would go kind of in the opposite direction and go class is permanent with Tyke Byrne, who hasn't played the best rugby of his career in this tour, but is one of the best second rows in the world, has been for some years at this point. And in terms of the raw materials he brings to the team, of that jackal threat, which you think about Australia and what they'll bring and them playing wider and faster ball, I think I'd want an extra jackal threat in my team. I'd want that extra line-out force as well, give you that extra option. So good at running a line out at Munster and for Ireland, that I very much look at him as a guy who can also then slot in the wide channels, and he's a very good edge forward as well if you want to use him potentially in those channels and even things up a bit. So I think I'd go for Tyke Byrne, even though perhaps he hasn't been on the form that McCarthy has.
It's interesting because you have got a wealth of luxury. Like James Ryan is one of the best, like clean out sort of ruck destroyers you can possibly find. Ty Burn, huge fan of Ty Burn, like you, Squidge, totally agree. I think his jackal ability is like there's not another lock that can do that. None of those, like that is his point of difference above everyone else. Like yes, they can all do line outs, maul, brawl, scrum, get around the pitch and everything like that. But his jackal ability is above everyone else's. But I'm looking at the breakdown in particular and what I've seen from the Brumbies, what I saw from the Waratahs, and a lot of it's around disruption and everything like that. And I want someone that's just going to melt the ruck. And I think Joe McCarthy, one, he carries, but two, like he can destroy that thing. James Ryan can as well, but I think Joe McCarthy has more of a carry game as well. So I'll then complement that with my back row selection. You'll see. So I'm going to go Joe McCarthy with Maro Itoje, and then all will be revealed with my back row selection.
At 6. Would you like to review your selections? You go first, guys.
No, Squidge goes first.
Squidge goes first, yeah.
Okay. I think you've got to think about the back row as a whole unit of how they slot together. I would go for Tom Curry at 6, who I think has pulled some... There's been some criticism of him on this tour. I thought he was unbelievable against Argentina. Sitting in the stands watching that in Dublin, he just gets everywhere. And sometimes when you watch him, the way he's able to get off the floor and then fling himself at something else, he'll just appear so many people. You just made a tackle 2 seconds ago. How are you on the other side of the pitch charging the ball down? I think his work rate's unbelievable. You want him there because Australia will likely, in the same way the provincial teams did, try and disrupt that breakdown. And you want someone who's incredibly accurate at getting over the ball and locking it down. That's perhaps more important than what he can do with the ball. Like Henry Pollock obviously has played very well with the ball in hand, but Tom Curry is such a brilliant set piece kind of and ruck forward. Also gives you an extra line out option. Him and who will get onto at number 8, slotting together quite nicely, I think, as one. So I would go for Tom Curry at 6 for the pure work rate and the kind of test match animal of it. I think even if he doesn't have the best games on tour, I think he will step up when he gets test time.
Yeah, well, he's phenomenal. Like he's phenomenal. Everything you say there is spot on. So I was thinking Ty Burn at 6. That's what that was my sort of thinking, and I think, and I'm not going to sit on the fence, but what I'd say is Ty Burn, and I'm a huge Ty Burn fan, as you said, and I'm thinking 6. But I feel Saturday for him is so important. Now, I don't know whether he's going to play 6 on Saturday. I don't know whether he's going to play in a row. But I feel like he needs the performance. Because I feel like the 6 one is not necessarily nailed on by anyone yet. So having the base on who would I pick on the form right now, I think Ollie Chesham played particularly well against the Brumbies. I thought he had a really, really good game. I think that it's Ty Burns to try and push in, depending on what happens on Saturday and how he performs. So at the moment, I'm going to go with Ollie Chesham. But Ty Burn is someone that I'm like, as I say, he's got an opportunity on Saturday and let's see how it goes.
And he was so good against the Brumbies.
Yes.
I want to change my pick now. Right, second row. I've been thinking about this just now, and I'm going to change my pick in the second row. I'm going to put Ollie Chesham at 5, right, for his carrying ability and his line-out ability and his partnership with Itoje, which allows me to pick Ty Burn at 6. Because I think...
We all want a bit of Ty Burn, don't we? We really want
I think his experience, I think he's a big body, which I think line-out-wise, you probably need 3 big bodies in that line-out. We've seen it struggle a bit on tour, but I think that'd be great. But I also think Australia first test are going to throw the kitchen sink at the Lions. I thought the Lions, just in terms of being able to resist that, having Ty Burn, his tackling and his jackling ability, also his carrying stuff, but I think his ability just to be a calm head, he's going to tie down my blind side because he's a big body, and so I think he will be belting the Australians coming his way.
I think, like I say, Saturday for him, I think the Lions coaching staff almost will be going, bring it, because if he brings it, I think for me, we know how world class he is. So I think Ches has kind of laid down a bit of a marker though, I think, which is great. This is what you want. It's what the Lions want. You know, it's sort of over to him now to go and perform. Conversely, we'll go to 8. Yeah, so 8, I'm actually going with Ben Earl. And I thought he had a great game against the Waratahs. I thought, his carry, his work around the breakdown, he's so like dynamic in the movement that he does. And the reason I'm going with Ben Earl at 8 is because at 6, I say I'll go with Chesham, so you've got the line out covered and everything like that. And I think the breakdown, as I said, has been highlighted against the franchise teams that maybe it's not been as clean. I think because Ben Earl's naturally a 7, I think his ability to deal with that attacking breakdown and defensive breakdown just nudges ahead of Conan. Now, the argument is the Lions haven't been necessarily as direct all tour since they played the Brumbies. So do you lose a bit of punch with Conan and Earl? And I don't think you do. I think Ben Earl is a terrific carrier, someone that's like so dynamic in the way he gets it. So for me, I'm going Ben Earl at 8 with Ollie Chesham at 6.
Yeah, I would go with Jack Conan at 8. I think he's been quietly very good on the tour. He's done a lot of kind of thankless tasks where he's been given a ball where perhaps there's no real chance to make more than a couple of meters, and he's made those 2 or 3 meters. He's a guy who tends to maximise the amount you can make out of a carry. He's so good at, if you need 1 inch or 2 inches, just gets him go forward to try and play off quick ball. He's so good at giving you that and generating that. And I think if that's the task that Farrell wants from a number 8, that isn't where you get the best out of Ben Earl. Like, he can do that, but what you want him doing is being in those slightly wider channels and carrying more and being a bit more kind of dynamic. So I think in terms of what they want from a number 8, I would go for Jack Conan to fill that mould best. And also the combination of him and Curry as 2 great line-out forwards kind of, I think, makes up for, in a way, the not picking a Chesham or a Byrne at 6.
I will go Jack Conan at 8, I think, in terms of just getting the lines on the front foot, off line out, off scrum. Obviously knows Gibson Park as well, 8-9 combo around the scrum, so I think he would be my pick at 8 again. I think he's done a lot of the dirty work in regards to just carrying into brick walls and maybe not say busting tackles and scoring, but just in terms of actually getting across the gain line and giving the Lions options to play left and right. He's my number 8.
The 7.
The big debate. The big one.
The big debate. Who wants to kick off?
Well, I'm fairly nailed in. I have no second thoughts in my mind. I didn't before the tour. Everything I've seen on the tour has only confirmed my mind. Justin Tip, no. Jack Morgan at number 7, who I think was as he's better known, the Welsh national team, because he has carried that team on his back and it has only built up clearly the strength of him. He is unbelievable that in a really struggling Welsh team, he was phenomenal. And he just does absolutely everything. You look at the fact that prior to the Brumbies game, he had made the same number of turnovers all the other back rowers on tour put together. You look at his kind of accuracy when I was talking about the breakdown, Australia disrupting it. I believe he's at 97% effectiveness on his own ball in terms of clearing out, and also the highest in terms of disrupting and slowing down opposition ball, if you look at the kind of the numbers. And then what he can do with the ball in hand. And you saw him obviously score a try against the Reds from picking a great angle, but there's so much of the other, like the way he's able to use his leg drive and get through contact and make more meters than you'd like. He's a great kind of tight carrier, but he also works well in the wide channels. I just think he's one of the most complete. I could talk for hours about Jack Morgan, and I just might. But I think he's as complete as any 7 out there. So yeah, I'd have him in all day, and there's nothing anyone can say that would change my mind on that.
I have to agree with you. I think Jack Morgan has been terrific. I think it's all about finding form at the right time. I think he's found that. I think they've got a luxury of 7s, like no one would let you down. They're all actually world-class operators. But I'm going with Morgan at 7 as well. And it'll be good to see a Welshman in there, given he's the only one left on tour. So, yeah.
A chance for a Welshman to win a test match.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not giving him that chance. I'm going Tom Curry. I think in terms of, again, the game could be, the first test could be attritional, and I think Curry gives you the ability to, he will smash things in defence, he can jackal a ball, he can carry a ball, he'll carry into car crashes, and again, if needs be, he's got the athleticism to play those wider channels. So I think, for me, Curry, it almost counts against him because he's good at everything, and sometimes you want a specialist 7 or a specialist 6, whereas I think Curry can play 6, 7, 8, and if you need to play him wide, he can play him through the middle. But I think Curry is my man to basically, if the Australians are going to come out firing, Curry's one to bat him away. So he's my 7.
Right, let's do the bench.
Right, yes. Let's start front row.
I feel like we're going to be aligned here. I think it's beyond the front row that we need to really delve into. I'm assuming.
I think Genji starts. I think Andrew Porter is dynamic and gives you a great presence. He could start or come off the bench, but I think he has been a great player for Ireland for past 4 years. But I think, he's a loose head on the bench.
Yeah.
Agreed. No, completely agreed.
Kelleher at 2.
It's a tough one, because actually I think, with Kelleher, I think he's solid in his all-round game and he brings solidity, but I think sometimes...
Dickie brings mongrel, mate.
But that's what I think, in terms of ability to... if you have to chase a game, I think Karen Dickey's got some great... He's probably got a lower... He's a bit more random, saying the bigger variance in his game, but he can be brilliant all and I think sometimes off the bench in some regards. Again, it depends how you set the team up for. I think Keller comes on, if you're winning the game, you want Keller to bring that stability, whereas if you need to chase it, you've got Karen Dickey, but then Sheen can play longer. So I go Karen Dickey.
I think I'd go the same. I think I was leaning Kelleher before the Waratahs game. And in terms of guys that came out of the game with credit, I think Cowan-Dickie was maybe one of the few who really boosted their chances. I thought we really saw the best of him again. He looked like kind of himself. So yeah, I think he kind of fought his way onto the bench a little bit there.
I'm a big Cowan-Dickie fan, but I think the way that the teams have been rotating and from what I've seen suggests to me that Kelleher is going to be the hook that comes on.
I do agree. The way the front rows are set up, I think Kelleher will be on the bench, but as I'm entitled to, my opinion, Cowan-Dickie, I'd love to see him come off the bench. And say
It's a tight call.
I say, and tighted wise, again, it's tight because these guys have both. Finlay Beelan's been probably a late call-up, but he's been brilliant on tour. But I would go Will Stewart just in terms of his size. I think we've seen him in the Six Nations, his ability to carry a ball and shift and do that, but also like set piece, his scrum has been really solid on tour. And I think coming off the bench late in the game, if him and Porter can bring set piece power and also not let you down around the field. So I'd go Will Stewart.
Yeah, I'd go for Finlay Beelan. I think it's a really tight call, as you say. I'd be happy with either of them if I was Andy Farrell, which I'm not, but I am surprised to learn that still. I thought he was, really solid since coming in. He's obviously a great scrummager. He's, fantastic in that area, but also has, you think about the way Ireland use him in a lot of set plays, they'll often have him coming in and kind of playing as an extra back rower. So that ability for him to be very versatile in how he's used, I think I'd put Finlay Beelan in.
I'm going to go Will Stewart. I think he's had a terrific season. I think he's really matured as a test player, which is mad really. He's got 50 odd caps, but I think for so much that it was sort of the first 20 or 25 was sort of almost sort of learning the craft of a tight head at international level and sitting behind the great Sheriff. So, but I think I look at him and I think he will be the replacement tight head.
Second row. Well, actually, there's an option here. You can go 6-2 split or a 5-3 split. I'm going to go 5-3, traditional. But the second row, I'm going to pick the guy who had dropped out of my original team and have Joe McCarthy. I think, in terms of size, ability, he can make an impact off the bench. He's going to be on my bench for me.
Yeah. I'd go for Ollie Chesham, who I think has been fantastic on the tour, can play lock, can play six, has been so good for England and Leicester over the last few years, really deserved his shot. And I think in any other team, you'd be going, how can you not pick him in the starting team? But it's the Lions. A large part of why the Lions... he's such a strong kind of prospect is the players coming off the bench are as good as the ones starting, and he easily could be doing that. And Ollie Chesham would be my second row.
So I've got obviously Ches to start at 6. I've got the locks covered, which means Ches can go into the row at any point. So therefore my pick will be Tom Curry to be on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. My back row slot, this is tough because I think Van der Vlier is a great player. I think Pollock's brought the ability to... we've seen in attack, basically, he can make a line break and he can score it and he brings that burst. And say if you're chasing the game or you need something to happen, a spark, he's the man. But I think I would bring on Ben Earl. I think I'd be on my bench. Again, it's tough for Jack Morgan. But I think Earl potentially gives you, as the game opens up, I think there's chance for him to run in and his explosiveness. And also, I say he can play 7, he can track the ball, do all that. But I think in terms of just, as the field opens up, he can carry and make line breaks and holes.
I think this is maybe the toughest position to pick, weirdly. That kind of number 20 jersey. Josh Van der Vlier, I think, really deserves a chance and would deserve a shot in this team. We haven't really mentioned him at all, but what an incredible player. Obviously, World Player of the Year a couple of years ago. He should be the pick, really, but I think I would probably look at Ches and maybe as the back row cover and put Joe McCarthy on the bench and think about that physicality. If you need a number 8 to fill in, you've got either Jack Morgan or Tom Curry can both play there. So I'd think pure physicality on that end and put Joe McCarthy and Ollie Chesham as my 2. And they might wear the other jerseys the way around. They might, Chesham in 20, but yeah, Joe McCarthy.
As I say, my lock position's covered with the guys that are starting. Curry will come on and I'm going to put Pollock on the bench as well. And the reason for that is I don't think anyone can argue what the guy can do, ball in hand, moving forward and everything like that. So I think you unleash him with 20 to go and I think he has that X factor, especially when I look at the Lions pack and I look at how it can grind down the Australian pack, and I think last 20, that's where someone like him comes in and sparks something, because I just think that a bit like pounding the rock, eventually fatigue, Lions have better depth and something like that. The wide channels back into the game can really do something. So he will come on as well.
The next slot is interesting. So it's either a 5-3 or a 6-2. I'm going 5-3.
I think I might go 6-2. I think I might go back on what I just said, put Josh Van der Vlier in as that extra body in there, number 21. He's been superb for how many other years, really earned this chance. And is he the guy who comes on and changes the game? I don't know, but he gives you that chance to perhaps move back your back row and change the kind of calibration of the entire pack. I think it gives you more options than you think of any of the kind of outside backs that come in terms of who is going to come on and most likely to change the game or allow you to change things up if something isn't working. I think there's a greater chance that Josh van der Fleer coming on is the positive change you need if something isn't going well than perhaps a Tommy Freeman or someone who's a brilliant player and easily could have been in the starting team. But are they going to bring the impact off the bench? I don't know. I think Van der Fleer would.
On the basis that I think first test, physically, we're going to try and beat him up a bit. I'm going to go with the 6-2, and I've kept him in the back pocket. Tygburn does make my 23. So Curry to come on, Pollard to come on, Tygburn to come on.
Yeah, I like that. I am now reconsidering my 6-2 split now. I am concerned about covering in the back line, though.
Can I just say, Coley, it wouldn't surprise me, maybe in a second test, for instance, they then go to 5-3, for instance, and use Tuipulotu to come on because, like, you know what I mean? The bit I'm like, can Aki go the distance? Do I want Tuipulotu coming on, like 20 to go, again, being direct? But I think for this game in particular, that's what I'd go with.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the backfield and having positions covered and who has the versatility to cover those positions. But yes, I would go with, as we're now playing the forwards power play, I'm not going to have a 9 in my 21 shirt. I'm going to have Trent Morgan. And I think
Delighted.
as you say, there's so many good options in the back row. I think as the game loosens up and opens up, I think the ability to bring on Earl and Morgan, potentially Morgan can play 6-7, Earl 7-8, that, those guys can open. There'll be jackal opportunities and there'll be carry opportunities for them both. So, yeah, and also they'll be abrasive in this physical forwards play. So I think, I'm going to put Trent Morgan on my bench.
It's not unreasonable to think with a 6-2 split that you can't put, if you need to be, that you couldn't put a Ben Earl or a Pollock in the centre for the last 20 minutes. You could get away with it. You think when people get yellow card and how you do that, you look at Quagga Smith and what he does to South Africa. Like it's not out of the ordinary to go a 6-2, and with 20 minutes to go, you can move one of those back rowers on if needs be. I'm not saying you would, but let's say you're forced through an injury or cramp or whatever, someone's got to come off. One of those guys can cover a backline position.
Sheehan as well.
Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, Sheehan could do it as well. So there we are. So that leaves. So we've all gone 6-2.
Okay.
So now scrum half on the bench. I'm assuming we all want a scrum half on the bench.
Yes. We could go 7-1.
We could go 7-1. Although we are not Razzie. So we are, So let's go. I'm assuming we all want Alex Mitchell.
I think Ben White, he's been fantastic for Scotland, but he's played so far about 10 minutes on tour. Yeah. So Alex Mitchell has been, I think, been fair play. Mitchell's been, in the games he's played, he's been really good impact. So Mitchell. Which
then comes in nicely. Who is the 23?
I would lean Marcus Smith. I think that 10 cover...
Based on pencil tash alone?
Purely on the pencil tash.
If you didn't see it, he's got a cracking tash. It looked like a pencil tash on the camera, but I need a... He'll have to send me a selfie. I need to double check this.
You need to inspect it up.
Yeah.
No, I think his ability to change the game, if that is what's needed, he can come on, he can play 10, he can play 15. And that also allows you covering other positions. You can move Kinghorn or Keenan out to the wing if needs be. You can move, whoever into the centres. You can cover this work. You can work this round. But his ability to come on and just change the game and change the pictures that are there, I think is greater than Finn Smith's. And Finn Smith has played very well, but Marcus gives you that ability to just alter the picture and alter what the Wallabies are looking at.
Yeah, I have to agree. Marcus Smith for me comes on the bench. He comes on because he can add, he can do different things. Like you say, you can put Tommy Freeman at 13 if you needed to, put Kinghorn onto the wing, you can slot people around. For me, Marcus brings the X factor, and I don't see anyone else that kind of can bring it in a different sort of positions, and the way that he can just sort of roam around and do his thing. So for me, Marcus is the guy that rounds up the 23.
See, we're thinking, I do agree, Marcus gives you 10-15 versatility, but you're talking about Aki and stuff. Do we need a 10-12 versatile man that, has played a lot of rugby?
Well, it depends. Saturdays, again, like we talk about how the importance of Saturday. Like, I'm assuming that the two Scottish lads are going to start, Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones, right?
Yes.
So Faz is likely to be on the bench. Now, if he starts at 12, well then, it's a shame we didn't do this debate after Saturday. Yeah. But I see where you're getting.
But I think I agree. I think Marcus is the man for the bench. I think he is the ability to come on and give you spark. And if he needs to be, I think potentially if a winger goes down, Kinghorn can move to the wing, providing he's fit. Marcus comes fullback and cover 10. Marcus Smith.
So there we have it. We've named our 23s. Big thanks to Thatchers. That was a fun exercise. Comment below which team did you like, and we'll see next week. We'll find out very, very soon. But there we are. There's our takes on it.